Yo. What's going on, family? How y'all doing out there? This is Jared Lewis, aka King J Lew, coming at you with another power session on this moment, on this opportunity right here. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be impactful. It's going to be good for you. It's going to be inspirational. All that good jazz. So this power session, the name of it is called There is Grace in Hearing Positivity. All right. There is grace in hearing positivity. There's grace in hearing positivity. And the scripture is coming from Ephesians, the 4th chapter and the 29th verse. And it's the New American Standard Bible, the 2020 edition. And it says, "Let no unwholesome word come out of your mouth, but if there is any good word for edification, according to the need of the moment, say that, so that it will give grace to those who hear." All right. So today we're talking about something that affects everybody, but it isn't always addressed. And it's just one simple word: words. Not just what we say, but what we have heard. That's a bar, right? That's a bar, right? All right. Words. Not just what we say, but what we've heard. And I want you to sit with that for a second. Not just what you say, but what you have heard. What if the reason you were struggling to think positively is because you've never been spoken to positively? Some of us have been hearing negativity from the time we were children, from ages 0 right on up to the adult age of 18. And all we ever heard was, "You're not good enough, you'll never make it, you talk too much, you're too sensitive, you need to shut up, you stop talking, da 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 da." I was one of those kids in high school. They always used to write on my report card, "Talk too much," right? Yeah, I was one of those. But now, somehow, in this present day of 2025, we're expected to show up to jobs, we're expected to show up to relationships, and we're expected to show up to ministries as healed, as positive, as purpose-driven adults. I came to break that spirit right now. Look, I came to break the mold with that right now, because I'm here to let you know that that's not fair. And I know what the casual person would say. The casual person would say, well, life's not fair. Bull crap. Words hurt. And if you're not careful, they could take root. So here's my first point. Words hurt and negativity is real. Listen, I need you to hear what I'm saying. Words hurt. I don't care what your mama told you, your nana, your uncle, the deacon, the pastor, bishop. I don't care. Words hurt. Negativity is real. And trauma is real. The sting of someone's careless mouth, guess what? That's real too. And I don't care how strong you may feel that you are. When something is said to you long enough, it will start to live inside of you. Some of us don't even realize how much negativity we have absorbed over the course of these years. We think we're just being realistic or we think that we're just being blunt. Nah, what you're doing is you're bleeding from words that you never healed from. Paul knew this whenever he wrote to the church when he wrote to the church of Ephesus. He said, let no unwholesome word come out of your mouth. Why? Because unwholesomeness words break spirits. And when they come from people you love, that damage hits even more. Some of us are suffering from that still to this moment. Whether it's from your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, your husband, whether it comes from your mother, your father, your grandpa, your grandma, somebody who you loved hit you negatively and they told you to mask it with tough skin. That's unwholesome. It's unwholesome. And Paul teaches us right here to the church of Ephesus to not even let it come out your mouth. All right? That's the first point. Point two. See, we going to work this thing out. Because for every problem that was presented in the early church, Paul came with a solution. Paul's solution was practical positivity. Paul didn't just tell what not to say. Paul gave a kingdom alternative. He said, but if there is any good word for edification, according to the need of the moment, say that. In other words, if it won't build, don't bother saying it. Let your words be like bricks, not bricks to throw, but bricks to build. Because there's always a moment where somebody needs grace. There's always someone that is around you who's on the edge. And you will be surprised because a word of encouragement, a word of positivity out of your mouth might be the very thing that pulls them away from their dark moment. Paul says if we could just speak to the edification, to that moment, by building up in that moment, that is more than speaking unwholesome to that person. What is it that we're trying to achieve? Which leads to the last and final point. Speak what was put in you. Let's flip it and reverse it. Yes, words hurt, but God gave you healing words. We were all created in His image. And what did God do in Genesis? He spoke. So when you speak, something shifts as well. What is the shift? Grace. There's grace in your voice, but only if you release it. You have the ability to speak positivity in the mornings, even when you don't feel it. You can declare peace in the midst of your chaos. You can encourage yourself at night when nobody is texting you back, but you have to make that choice. You don't need a microphone to prophesy to your own self. You could just simply make the choice to speak positivity and progression and safety over your own self. Don't believe me? Try it for yourself. Try it for yourself. Try it for yourself. Try it for yourself. Wake up in the morning and say, this is still the day that the Lord has made. And right about midday, remind yourself that you're still anointed. And before you go to bed at night, whisper that God kept me. That's not fluff. That's faith. And it rewires your soul. Yes, conflict and turmoil is all around you. Yes, trial and tribulation will come. but it's your choice to change the dynamic. Take a moment and ask yourself, what was the last negative word that was spoken over you? What was the last negative word that was spoken over you? Are you still carrying it? Some of us are 30 years old, 20 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, 70 years old, 60 years old, still carrying drama, still carrying gossip, still carrying things that were said to us when we were 12 years old. Now ask yourself this question. What would it look like to replace what was said to you negatively, positively, with grace? This is where true healing begins. So here's your challenge. For the next 24 hours, speak only what builds. Speak only what builds to yourself. Speak only what builds to your friends. Speak only what builds to your coworkers. Speak only what builds to your kids. Speak only what builds to your partners. Speak only what builds to your spouse. Speak only what builds to your relationships. Speak only what builds to your church. And if you catch yourself slipping, grace yourself and start again. The key is to not be perfect. You just want to rewire and be intentional. Let your mouth become a ministry. Let your voice carry healing, and let your speech sound like heaven. Because somebody is waiting on your words, and you're waiting for your own healing. So remember, family, there's a grace in hearing positivity. There's a grace in hearing positivity. And let's make that a daily discipline, not just for a moment. And as always, be the best kingdom citizen that you can be, and exercise your right as a kingdom citizen. This is King J Lew, and I'll catch you in the next one. Keep speaking life. Peace.